All right, thank you for joining us this week for What's New in QuickBooks Enterprise Part 2. I'm Marjorie Adams. I'm going to be leading our webinar today. I hope everybody enjoyed some of the features from last week, maybe tested them, right? Tried the approval process. And I hope that'll continue forward into this week. This week's a lot of informational, so I apologize ahead of time, but all good things. Woo-hoo. So let's just go ahead and dive right on in here. So first of all, just as a reminder, what is, every year QuickBooks has a phrase, right? What are they trying to accomplish? Accomplish is on the slide here. What are they trying to accomplish with the newest version of QuickBooks Desktop? What are they trying to get across to their audience? So I always think it's important to share this phrase because we want to know what they are doing, right? What are they trying to tell us that they are working on? So accomplish more, faster. That's what they're working on with QuickBooks Desktop 2022. So I hear accomplish more. I think automations. I think simplification, right? Being able to do that faster tells me automations, simplification, maybe not having to data enter in multiple places, being able to capture things one time and have it translate across. So you'll see some of these things and this theme across all of the changes in QuickBooks Enterprise this year. So pretty cool. So real quick, I just want to touch on this one. I'm not going to dwell on it much because I know this is an enterprise webinar, but I think it's important to understand because it affects us in enterprise, right? It affects all of our users. Most of Fourlane's users are in QuickBooks Enterprise. Probably 90% of our users are there. We've got well over 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 users in enterprise, companies using enterprise. So why this is important to us is that anything that happens in the desktop space is important to enterprise, right? We've heard it for a number of years. We would love everybody to move to QuickBooks Online. This is what Intuit is telling us. We know in the enterprise space, QuickBooks Online is not quite ready yet for all businesses, or can be right for some, but for most businesses in the enterprise space, inventory heavy, job costing heavy, etc., it's not quite there yet. We are ready when it's there, but it's not quite there yet. So what happened this year? In the previous years, the way that it worked, right? Enterprise is a subscription product, but the two products that lead up to Enterprise are QuickBooks Pro and QuickBooks Premier. They're pretty low price products. I mean, Enterprise is a low price product in the general scheme of things. If you look at what else is out there, you go look at Sage 100 or you look at NetSuite or you look at Acumatica or any of these products. I mean, QuickBooks Enterprise is very cheap. It is very low cost compared to other products out there. Pro and Premier are even cheaper, right? They don't have the functionality that Enterprise has. They don't have the capabilities, the capacity that Enterprise has, go into all these things. But the way that it works is similar to how it used to work with Enterprise, where basically you could purchase QuickBooks Pro every 3 years, and you purchase it outright. So if you never bought it again, you would continuously have access to the software. The only things that forced upgrades every 3 years was if you use merchant services or payroll, you would have to move up. So of course, people would buy Pro 2012, 2015, 2018, which could, work out well, but it was also problematic because they missed things along the way. They missed things that happened in 2017 or 2016. So the way that it's changing to now, so starting now, is that all desktop products, so that's Pro, Premier, and even Mac, are on a subscription. So what that means is that if somebody buys QuickBooks Pro Plus today, next year, if they do not renew that product, they will no longer have access to the software. They will no longer be able to access their company file. It's a big change. It's a big change. But when we're looking at a product like a Pro Plus, one user costs, I don't know, a couple $100 a year. I mean, not like it's breaking the bank. Hopefully it's not breaking the bank. And if it is, then we should maybe consider QBO because probably we don't need the complexities that desktop has built in products. So why does that matter? A couple things. It equalizes the desktop product with the rest of the Intuit family, right? Everything else Intuit has moved to a subscription basis. Desktop is the only thing, so Pro, Premier, and Mac were the only things that were holding out. And so this equalizes the product with the rest of the Intuit family, where it will be valued at the same level as other subscription products. And we all know that subscription matters in this world, right? Everybody, every business is moving to a subscription model, more consistent revenues. This is a great change for Intuit, which therefore to me always makes a great change for all businesses using QuickBooks. The second thing is, of course, people in this space will always have access to the latest releases. Doesn't really affect you guys in enterprise. But the third thing is, because this is, even though Pro and Premier are different products in enterprise, the ecosystem as a whole, when it comes to desktop, is going to be affected by this, in my opinion. This is my opinion. This is my speculation. So don't take this as word. This is not. But I think that there will be more frequent releases. We've seen it in the enterprise space where we have a September release, big release, 2022 comes out. Then we have a November release where something big comes out. And then we have a February release where something big comes out. And so I think there will be more frequent releases. We won't have to wait till the end of the year for things to happen, which is great. As soon as it's ready, if it's been vetted, roll the feature out to us. Don't make us wait. That is very common in other softwares, and it's great that they're rolling it into this space. The other thing is Intuit will have more money to invest. All of a sudden, instead of getting every 3 years that $200 from a Pro 1 user, now they're going to be getting it every year. That's great to me. That also, again, is going to level because a QuickBooks Online account, right, for the mid-level online account costs about $420 a year. And so, $200 a year, $420 a year, it's still, they're going to make more money in online. But as you move up in users in the Pro and Premier, this is going to be a higher value product now, and Intuit cannot ignore that. The other thing that I'm hoping for, and again, don't count this, this is my speculation, but I'm hoping for that I've been asking for years, is I'm hoping that we will not have a new installation every year. Could you imagine if we just had to do a fresh install maybe once every 3 or 4 years, and instead we just got releases throughout every quarter or whatever they decide the timeline is going to be? That would be amazing because it is so painful. Unless you're hosted, of course, where it still can be a little bit painful, but so painful for people who have local installations to get upgraded, all the workstations, everything moved up. So I'm hopeful that that's going to come down the pipe, and that would make everybody's lives a lot easier. All right, moving forward. Okay, so I just wanted to let you guys know about this one. Not really affecting you, but I'm hoping will have an effect on the desktop ecosystem as a whole. And to that, to that line of speaking here, one of the first new features that I want to talk about today is going to be our 64-bit processing. So this is a pretty big deal in this space. This does affect all QuickBooks desktop users. So this is not just enterprise again, but if you imagine the QuickBooks Pro people who are probably don't have a high volume of transactions, etc., this really does affect enterprise. This is really for the enterprise space because we are the ones who have high volume of transactions, complicated transactions, lengthy transactions, right? So this is really for us. So what is 64-bit processing? First of all, historically, right, any 32-bit processing software, which QuickBooks was prior to 2022, could work on 64-bit computers. Okay? Because when they built 64-bit computers, they made it so that everybody didn't have to move immediately. Secondly, 64-bit software utilizes 64-bit processors found on most computers. And that allows access to 4 billion times the physical memory of a 32-bit software. So it's faster. You hear that? Faster. Faster. I'm so excited. How do I know if my computer is 64-bit? So you can go down to your Windows icon bar, search for computer, right-click on properties, system type will say there. If it's a 62-bit or 32-bit computer. So you do have to be on a 64-bit computer to use this. Most computers are nowadays pretty standard. And one of the reasons for this change was Windows is considering discontinuing support for 32-bit apps. So part of it was Windows helping us out pushing Intuit forward. But regardless, we'll take advantage of it. Let's improve this speed. All right, so next, what should I expect with this change? So 10 to 38% speed improvement for running reports, sales tax liability report, holy cow, creating transactions, and for reconciling. So I don't know about you. I've got some clients that I reconcile where we will click, wait, click, wait, click. I'm seeing improvement in this space already. Logging in and out of companies will be faster. There should be less crashing, fewer black screens. If these things are happening, please let us know. We can talk about environment as well. There is no change. So if you have any applications using the web connector has not changed. So it's still processing on a 32-bit connector there, right? So when you use that, so that has not been updated. So if you complain or you have complaints about speed of web connector, this is not going to affect that software. That software is separate. Okay, if we have issues with web connector, let us know. We do custom application integrations all the time. Any programs going through the API can be updated to utilize the faster processing speeds. So for people who decide to bypass web connector and just go straight through the API into the software, their programs will be faster. So all of our custom applications that we've written for clients in the past, integration, custom reporting, whatever it is, custom applications on top of QuickBooks, these are all being changed to be faster to take advantage of the 64-bit. Okay. Another one that's a major change, in case you missed it, is that WebGility has now a direct integration. They used to go through the web connector. They are now having a direct integration, taking advantage of this faster speed, right? So there, you will start to see possibly people moving away from that web connector and doing that direct integration for this reason. All right, what if I'm using a hosting company? Most hosting companies are already 64-bit, sorry, 64-bit, so usually no changes needed. There's nothing additional you have to do beyond just saying, hey, can I get moved up to 2022? All right, so with that, I want to do a little dance because I was super excited about this change. I think it's a huge investment. It was a big system overhaul, right, and doing it across the board for desktop. I know every year people come to me and say, do you think desktop is going away? Do you think desktop is going away? And I mean, seeing things like this, the answer is no, right? Definitely not. Okay, so let's move along. Talk about this other feature that we're gonna have. So I'm gonna be flipping between PowerPoint and our QuickBooks product and also my mobile app here as well. So just bear with me if you can through some of these things. So we're gonna talk about uploading bills. Last year, in 2021, we had upload credit card transactions, right? I think they call it upload receipts, but it's receipts from credit card transactions. So you could upload those and it would go into the appropriate credit card account and it would OCR read the bill. Read the credit card receipt. So cool, you get a snapshot of the receipt. So we have good records, solid records, right? Receipts, paper receipts are really hard to maintain. And they get all smudgy and all the things. But now we have a record tied to the receipt, and now the same thing is happening here with bills. So let's go ahead and let me pause my screen for just a second so I can flip on over to my phone. We here at Fourlane use something called the Reflector app, and Reflector allows you to screen mirror your phone, but it does take a second to connect, and I always have to connect during the webinars because if I don't, it will disconnect and then not allow me to connect. So just give me a second here. All right, screen mirror. And it also got very high tech with there we go. I have to enter a code, so make sure that I'm sharing the screen to the right person, all this fun stuff. I think that there's been a lot of changes, right, with all those extra Zoom meetings and things. So when I come in here and I go into my desktop app now, let me show my screen so you can see it. Now I am on my phone, okay? So I have my receipt, that's the one we were just talking about. I have bill now, which is what we're about to go through. And then we have document, which we're going to show in another session here. So if I go ahead and click on bill, there's a couple different things that you can do here. You can see it mimics. There's my snapshot over there. I can snap a bill. I can also view uploaded bills. So I can see previously uploaded bills here. Okay. It will make you sign into your Intuit account. And I have the wrong password. So let me go ahead and get that. Once I get it signed in here, then it'll ask you, right? I haven't signed in a little bit, so it asks me if I want to send a text message or I can send a confirmation another way. So I'm going to go ahead and send a text message, and then grabs it right from my messaging there and logs me right into my account. So you do have to use your Intuit account, just like when, oh, there we go. Just like when you are doing anything else, you do need to use your Intuit account nowadays, right, with your users. And we'll talk through how to set up users in just a second here. So I can look at my previous bills that I've uploaded. I can open them up and I can see what was done, etc. I can see the little bit of notes and when I did them. Coming back in, I can go ahead and snap my bill. So I'm going to go ahead and say snap. It will pick up the parameters of my bill here and capture. I can say use this. I can put a name on this bill if I want to. So delete here and put on writing article. Oops, I can spell writing articles for Intuit. And I can put in a memo, extra stuff about this invoice. I would like to put some stuff in here so that we can see where it ends up. And I can go ahead and say upload. Okay. I can upload another bill if I want to, or just say okay. Now I can go into view uploaded bills and see, again, right, here's that writing article for Intuit right here. So pretty straightforward on how to do it. Very simple. The idea of it being very simple is we want people to actually use it, right? And this isn't going to be accounting using it all the time. This could be people who are technicians out in the field. This could be our CEOs or our owners who sometimes we have a harder time getting information from, right? So very simple to use. That's the idea. So let me go ahead and close out of my phone here, and I'm going to progress forward in my PowerPoint so you can see. Now, if we switch on over to inside of QuickBooks, so I can come up here under vendors and go to upload and review bills. Okay, so a new section in here. A couple things about this upload and review bills. It's very similar to some of the other areas in QuickBooks where, you know, if you have to refresh it, you have to hit refresh, or you have to close out of it and reopen it, so it doesn't always have everything refreshed live. You have to manually refresh it, okay? So let's go ahead and progress forward through here. So a couple things. I can browse the upload. So if I do this, I can grab a something that's local on my desktop. Okay, so grab a PDF copy of a bill. I can also send bills to, which is happening here. So Fourlane 2022 at qbdesktopdocs.com, and I'll show you in our slide deck here how to set that up. And then, of course, we have Snap on Mobile, which is what we did. So going through our slide deck here, the first thing that we want to talk about is clicking on Manage Users. So when I come into Manage Users, it gives me here what are the prerequisites. They are going to be linked to this file. They will need to use the Bill Snap from the mobile, from the QuickBooks desktop app, right? So they'll have to download that app on the iPhone or the Android, etc., and we can go ahead and give access to people. So again, it's going to take us into our Intuit account user management, and we use this in several different ways. We went over this highly last year in 2021. So you can see all of the different people that I have set up. You can also see the different roles that are available here. Okay, so admins, payroll, processing. So that's not what we're talking about today. No payments. We're not talking about that today. When you set up people to be using upload bills to set them up, you have to be primary admin. But to the person that you set up to be able to snap them on their phone just has to be a basic user, okay? They do not have to be any of these additional, seems like scary, right? Admin, you see admin, you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to give them this much permission. They just have to be set up as a basic user, okay? So when I come in and I add a user, I put in the user's email, I assign what role we're going to assign to them, which would just be basic user, and then I go ahead and add the user here. Flipping back to my PowerPoint here so you can see what they expect. When we are setting up senders, right, you can set them up and then you have to give them access to what they can do. So in this case here, I'm showing who is allowed to access our Fourlane 2022. So who's allowed to email in, and then you can also set up who's allowed to mobile snap in. Okay, then it's just to flip the switch on and off. Okay. In here, one of the things that I wanted to show as well, when you upload things, if it is not in a JPEG, JPG, PNG, or PDF format, it will not, it'll error out. Okay, so you can't upload an Excel document. When you're going in to set up your custom email address, this is what it will look like. Okay, so this is before I have an email address. So when I'm logged in here now and I close out of this area, now it says send bills to because I've already had it set up. But when I'm setting up, the first thing it'll look like is it'll just say send bills because it doesn't know where to yet. So the first time you use this, you're going to log in, you're going to see this send bills. Once you click on that, it'll ask you to create a custom email address. So notice you are not using your own internal email addresses. It'll be at qbdesktopdocs.com, and then you put in the custom name. My advice is to make it as simple as possible. Because again, if you're going to have people on your staff using this, you don't want it to be, Fourlane 123 and 12 at, as simple as possible. So hopefully you can nab some quickly if we take advantage of using this feature. Maybe just go in and grab an email address so that you have yours. Maybe Fourlane help, Fourlane bills, something like that, something simple. Okay, and then you claim that email address. So once that email address is set up, again, this is where you go in and say who you're going to allow to have access. In here, you can see I've now allowed a couple people to have access. And so basically what that means is if they tried to email Fourlane 2022 at qbdesktopdocs.com and it was not from one of these email addresses, it would error out to them. It would tell them, they would get a response back that says you are not set up to be able to send documents to this email address. Please go ahead and talk to your administrator. Okay, so it has to be very exact. So you can see here, I am going ahead and sending an invoice across. This is the receipt that you will get if your email address is not set up. So the first time I tried to do this, I said, oh, great, let me just go ahead and send it across. Nope, I got this email. It said, no, you are not set up to be able to forward bills to this address. The other error that I got when I actually was able to send it across is I do have some images in my email signature, and it tried to upload those images, which is cool, right? Because it's trying to be conclusive and inclusive. So the first 5, which were all images, did not get uploaded. So 5 out of 6 came in. The 6th one was actually the PDF, so it worked out just fine. But you might get some of these emails, so you might want to just move them along to junk. Okay, let's go ahead and flip back in product, since I'll see all these things. So here, one of the things that we can do, I can come in here and I can say review. I can delete. I can also move to receipts. So first thing we're going to do is review. So it's picking up a match transaction on this one because I've uploaded this bill before. When I come in here, you can see it picks up an looks at my transaction. Let me go ahead and say that this is not a match. All right, and now it says no matches found. So when I come in this time and I say I want to import this data, so it says something different, delete or move to receipts, I can go ahead and click on multiples as well in batch actions and say edit, right? On this one, if I just go in and I hit edit, I can come in and say, what's the vendor name? If it didn't pick it up, what's the expense account? What's the bill date? So I can edit it from this screen. The other thing that, you have your refresh over here, and you have your settings, which will allow you to choose to add the reference number and the memo. I've kind of struggled with this, and it's probably just a V1 thing. Actually, I'm still in a beta product right now because my demos worked in beta, so I didn't want to mess with it yet. But reference number and memo, I can add these here, but you notice that when I add them here, it doesn't really pick up anything. And then when I close out of this and reopen it, it doesn't leave them here, which is normal when you do settings in QuickBooks. So probably something that they're working on. But I'm going to go ahead and say import this data, and it pulls it right up. So this is something that is a little bit different. First of all, it gives me a bill image that I can see right here on the screen. I can zoom into that bill image if I wanted to, zoom out. I can also come over here, and you can see that there's like a little image embedded in the corner, okay? So if I close out of this, I can open it back up by clicking on the image if I needed to review something. Coming down below here, so I can choose to use the items or expense tab. I could have put that in the other screen as well. I'm just going to throw something in here. Notice that we have default classes. If we have default classes for something, then it will pick up the default class, which is pretty cool. I can put in a reference number. The things that it did pick up, it picked up my date. It picked up the amount due, right? It picked up the vendor name for me automatically. So pretty cool stuff. Then when I go ahead and say save, it gives me all my warnings because it's historical, and it closes out of that bill for me, okay? Now, if I come back in here and I hit refresh, that bill is now off of my list. Well, yeah, that bill's not off my list because this one's for $450. And so I can go ahead and move forward. I can look at the reviewed here if I want to. So I can see there's my bill 649. If I want to view it from here, I can open it up. Once I open it up, now the attachment is where we would expect it to be, right? So it's showing up here in the attached file section. And if I click into it, I can then open up the PDF. Well, it's on my other screen, sorry about that. Open up the PDF and see what is actually happening. So it goes back to what's normal, okay? So just progressing through the PowerPoint here so you guys can follow along at home. The other thing that we want to look at is we want to look at the other options. So when I'm looking in my for review here, you have some other options. You can say import this data. You can delete it if you're not going to utilize it or if it's a duplicate or something like that. But you can also move it to receipts. So if this is actually not a bill, you want to move it to the one I was talking about earlier, receipts, and you can do that here. Okay. This is just what it looks like when it moves to receipts. Then it gets added to your document center. So just why is this important for us? Consistency, right? We have OCR that can read the bill, details, date, memo, vendor, amount. We have efficiency. It automatically attaches the document for us. So we don't have to go in and figure it out, upload, drag from our email, whatever it is that we do. And then speed, this can help us get to paperless faster, which is awesome. Okay, that's it for us today. Coming up, I think we're going to have to do 2 more weeks of what's new. So just FYI, I had planned it for 3 weeks, but there's so many new things that we're going to do 2 additional weeks. After that, we're going to talk about accounting explained for inventory, do cycle counts, build to stock, build to order. So very specific targeted training coming up after those. So you guys will see those lists building up. I hope you enjoyed today. Please leave us any feedback, send us any questions. I'm going to go ahead and close this out though, reminding you what our formula for success here is at Fourlane. We are giving our clients access to data to make decisions quickly in this climate, especially with things going up and down. People need to be able to have metrics that they're looking at quickly and that they trust, and that's what we focus on here. Thanks everybody so much.